We're getting, in Florida, a lot of businesses from New York. Texas is getting a lot of businesses from California. And we're talking about significant businesses. And California is also, I think, going to get a lot more business from New York, especially with the Texas Stock Exchange that's coming up. I'm actually really excited about that. What does it stand for first? It's environmental social governance. And it's basically a trend, a movement, a scam, depending on who you ask. But essentially, it is a movement, part of the woke capitalism trends that we've seen recently. And I think that what it's trying to do is take the place of government bodies, regulators, consumers, market dynamics, right? And I don't think that it's necessarily a good thing. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people are speaking up. A lot of states are speaking up. Businesses are speaking up. And I think that people are coming to see the light that, hey, we've been sold a bill of goods and this doesn't make any sense. For example, let's kind of like break them down one by one. So environmental, we have an entity that's responsible for making sure that everybody plays by the rules when it comes to the environmental laws. Those are the regulators, the agencies, and there are even nonprofits that will help spread the knowledge. So you don't need to add a third dimension, especially when that business, that market, that industry already has a system, okay, that gives it signals, and those are called prices. And I think that the more you mess with natural prices, there's a lot of unintended consequences to that. And we saw that with the Federal Reserve. When they artificially suppressed interest rates for 2 decades, how could you not have inflation? I think that they're benefiting in a number of ways, starting with more people moving to the state, more businesses moving to the state. We're getting, in Florida, a lot of businesses from New York. Texas is getting a lot of businesses from California. And we're talking about significant businesses. And California is also, I think, going to get a lot more business from New York, especially with the Texas Stock Exchange that's coming up. I'm actually really excited about that. And I think that that really does speak to people are sick and tired of when you're in the business field, you know how the young kids say today, stay in your lane. So I think this is capitalism's way of telling DC and Wall Street and pretty much all the agencies, the regulatory bodies that, look, stay in your lane. We already have a dynamic market, and the people that have the most dynamic markets, like Texas, like Florida, they're going to be rewarded the most. I think Texas is going to continue their boom. So I say continue on purpose because Texas is already booming. I think we know that. But if you really look at it, Texas and Florida are just blowing the rest of the states out of the water. Not all of them, but they are considerably in the lead. And I would argue that they're probably some of the biggest contributors to the national GDP numbers that we've been seeing. And I would also add to that, GDP is not necessarily the best way to measure the health of an economy because it only measures spending. And it includes government spending. And government spending is basically, they kind of have to take it from us, right? And so it's not necessary, and I would argue maybe not the best ROI all the time or any of the time, but I digress. So, I think that Texas and Florida are going to continue to benefit, but you know what? It's California and New York's fault. I mean, the silly and I would say scary laws. I'm not a parent yet, okay? But I couldn't imagine being a parent and then the governor being like, listen, you're a teenager, if we decide or together that, they want to change out their private parts, not only are we not going to let you know about it, but we'll probably subsidize the procedure. If that's not evil, I really don't know what is. Yeah, I think that Florida is going to continue to see a lot of influx of not only, let's call it retirees, but also tech and finance. And I think that that's part of the growing trend of basically being able to work from anywhere, right? The mobile revolution is not over yet. And AI is going to accelerate that, and people are going to have more and more freedom and flexibility, and they're going to slowly and surely wake up and be like, why am I living here? Why am I giving this much money to my municipality, my city, my state? And they're going around, are they doing a good job with the money? Are we seeing any progress? Or are we seeing the opposite? And am I just throwing money at the problem and seeing no result? More and more people are starting to ask for, look for, notice the results that they're getting for their tax dollars, that they're getting from their leaders, quote unquote. And a lot of the leaders are kind of leading them down the wrong road, I would argue. Sure. Well, I think that what you're going to start seeing is a lot more small business creation. I think that startups are going to rebound, especially if the cost of carry, basically interest rates, come down. I think that real estate is going to continue to boom in Florida and Texas. There's just not enough supply of residential real estate, right? There's just not enough. Now, if we're talking about office buildings, all bets are off. I don't think that I wouldn't want to touch that yet. But residential real estate, I think, is going to continue to boom. I think that a lot of alternative investment companies are going to move to South Florida, not necessarily Miami. Miami people are getting priced out, so they're moving up to Lauderdale. They're getting priced out of Lauderdale. They're moving up north to Hollywood. Here's an interesting thing. I think Florida is going to take Hollywood, Florida is going to beat Hollywood, California. Just give it a decade or two, mark my word, because it's becoming so easy to create. You can create with your phone. You can create with your tablet. You can create with a team of people, your friends, your family, that it would take a major production studio to do. And the quality is fantastic. I know that Apple just came out with their new phone. I'm curious to talk to my partner, my cousin Vundin, about that. He's a big enthusiast. He's also, I would say, professional level photographer. So he is looking at it in a level of detail that I'm not able to even comprehend, but I just trust him. But I'll tell you this, we already are working with a director in South Florida that's helping us with the upcoming documentary. Check it out, Inflation AF. And it's really going to be talking about how a lot of our society's problems are really due to inflation and really due to the lack of financial literacy. So I don't mean to digress, but it's such an important topic, and hopefully we can focus more about that in the future. But in the meantime, man, I'm proud of Texas and Florida. I was recently teaching myself how to code. So I'll take a step back. I'm a finance guy. I was intimidated by tech. I didn't think of myself as a tech guy, but I did take a couple of classes in college because it was recommended. I'll be honest. I dropped out of one right away because I was like, this is like very time consuming. It was C++. I didn't know at the time that was a pretty difficult language to learn, and that by learning even the fundamentals of it, that it would really put me kind of ahead of the curve, especially within finance students. But there's an app for free. I think it's called Memo.org. This is going to sound like maybe the nerdiest thing I've said today, but the day's not over. But it was fun to learn it. And I learned JavaScript. I'm learning HTML. It may not sound impressive, but it was so easy that a child could do it, and a child should do it. And so I already started recommending it to my nieces and nephews. I mean, but I wouldn't stop there. Like adults, if you don't like your job, you could easily become a software engineer much easier than you think. So please don't sell yourself and your future short. Take advantage of all these opportunities that are available. And if you're in a state, a city, a situation where you feel like you're being treated unfairly, well, I think Melissa and I will be happy to have you in Florida or Texas. Never too late to learn, and it's never too early to learn. Those are the two things that I hope that our listeners and our viewers can take away. And I don't mean to sound cheesy, but it really is true. There's never too late, never too early. And I would argue that by continuing to learn, you actually are continuing to live better and live more. Take advantage of technology. Don't let technology take advantage of you. Invest a little bit every day. If you look at how much you invested last year, would you be happy with yourself if you invested the same amount this year? Hopefully not. So, dial it up a little bit, right? The most powerful force is compounding, right? So you want to build that momentum and stay positive. Remember, when you're feeling depressed, it's probably just because you haven't eaten anything, or it's between 2 and 4 p.m., low part of our circadian rhythm. So you don't need pills and you're not depressed. Go for a walk.